Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Iron Woman. We have a special guest. And finally, we go to Thailand and we speak to Susan Ward. We probably met in 2017 in Thailand when we started the mindfulness coaching with Asian Leadership Institute. And since then, we've been in contact and finally we can record this podcast. Susan, welcome. And it's a real true pleasure to have you and talking about your work outside of work.
Thank you. Great to reconnect with you, Suzanne. It's been a long time since we've seen each other face to face, but thankfully we have technology to support our continued friendship and relationship.
So now, what do you do when you don't coach, when you don't work? You're always a busy person, but then on Facebook, on other social media platforms, I see what you're doing and I'm always like, I want to have her life. So what is it?
And so the answer quickly is you can have this life. And my husband and I are at an enviable time in our life where we want to and can give back. And our way of giving back is through small acts of volunteerism. Being a volunteer has probably opened our horizons to the world, to mankind, to the highs and lows that people go through. Let me tell you just a bit about some of the volunteer experiences we've had. You can see I'm wearing my Paris 2024 shirt. My husband and I really kicked off our volunteer experience in 2016 when we volunteered for the Rio de Janeiro Olympics. Now, we were at that time living and working in the Middle East, so that was a long way to go as volunteers. And people will remember those were the Zika Olympics where certain athletes said we're not going, etc. How a community comes together to support athletes is phenomenal. And so being part of it behind the scenes, but bringing, as I call it, my hands, my heart, and my head to what I do in support of others is tremendously gratifying. That kind of kickstarted us. We then were part of a large golf tournament in Paris, the Ryder Cup. And then we put our hands up for one more Olympic Games, and we were in Paris in 2024. Again, I think the world thought, how is Paris going to do it? They did it. It was phenomenal. And being both with fellow volunteers, with organizers, coaches, and athletes is great.
How do you get involved and why the Olympics and why golfing? So all those why questions. I want to do that too. How does one get into this? And what started for you this?
My husband and I are sports nuts and have been. It's part of, we met on a golf course and we met through golf and it's one of our passions. So, however, in applying for the Olympics, you don't know what sport you'll be assigned to. You may not be even assigned to a sport. You may be a chauffeur moving athletes between the village and a venue. But I'd say, think about your passion. If our passion was sports, well, what's bigger than the Olympics? And so how do you apply? You go on to what would now be LA28. You look at the website. Certainly there, they'll be calling for volunteers. And you fill out the application. You'll have to answer a lot of security questions. You will ultimately have an interview along with others. They will determine what you're best suited for. And then you are selected as a volunteer. Let me just say to anybody who's thinking they'll apply in LA28, start now to reach out to your contacts because your biggest difficulty will be finding accommodations. If you can couch surf or use someone's guest room, everything will be easier for you.
And that would have been my next question. So how do you orchestrate everything? Obviously, for the athletes, we have the athletes village, but you're behind the scene. I'm curious, and also, how does a typical day look like for you?
I just want to let people know that you're also an economic volunteer. And by that, I mean you're getting yourself there. You're paying your airline ticket. You're getting to your accommodation. On the days you don't work, you're feeding yourself. What is provided? What's provided is a uniform, some training, and a transit pass. The end. The rest is on you. In making that commitment, you need to be able to commit to that. And some people who volunteer come from countries where they have to apply for and pay for a visa. A typical day starts very early at the Olympics. So many of the venues are open as early as 6 a.m. So that means alarms going off at 4 so you can get to the venue and support not only athletes, but spectators, media, coaches. And so you will be assigned to a venue or a sport or a particular team, and that your assignment will be how you are supporting them. As I said, it could be everything from being a chauffeur and moving athletes between the Olympic Village and the venue. It could be in the drug testing area, collecting the warm specimen that the athlete provides. It could be in terms of timing, security, scoring, etc. There are hundreds of roles, and all the volunteers are so necessary to the success.
I can only say I know it from my triathlon or marathon days where you have a lot of volunteers, but obviously the Olympics is another animal. Give us some highlights from Rio. And I was there in 2016 when they built the stadium, so I know where that was.
When Rio was selected, the world had a collective. First Olympics in South America, first Olympics in Brazil, etc., etc. That city came together and they used their experience with Carnival, that they were going to say it's like Carnival, it just accepted in 32 different venues happening simultaneously. And so in Rio and also in Paris, think about not a 3-ring circus, think about a 32-ring circus, because that's the number of events happening simultaneously. And so that alone is a bit awe-inspiring that, there's people at the sailing venue, there's people at fencing, there's people at badminton, there's people at handball, all over. And it is that collective energy and excitement creates a buzz. And what created a buzz in Rio de Janeiro really made us want to work in Paris was the fans. The fans are so fanatic. That's what fans stands for. And so when you're with them at the venues, when you're with them in the crush of the subway, when you're with them lining up and they're putting their tickets into the turnstile, that buzz and excitement cannot be captured. It's as if the world suddenly has said, I don't care where you're from. I don't care about your culture. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your leanings. We are here in this little ecosystem of love, harmony, peace, and athletic success.
You couldn't have said it better. That's wonderful. And I think that's what the Olympics should be, right? Happening, fun, and also the athlete, they train so hard for 4 years or even longer for that one day when they can be in the pool or golfing or running or swimming in the Seine. I remember that was the triathlon was actually not so sure if they could have it in Paris to swim there, but it went well. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now?
Yeah, we've gone from two-legged people that we're volunteering to support to another passion of ours, and that's animal conservation. The animals cannot speak for the difficult conditions in which they're enduring around the world. And so in June of this year, my husband and I traveled to South Africa and supported the African wildlife vets. And these African wildlife vets are literally on call, any time of night or day to go and rescue an animal that may be caught in a snare. Definitely they are there to prevent or to recover from poaching episodes, etc. Their work is done to really keep the heartbeat of Africa alive. Without the wild animals, Africa would just perhaps be another continent. So we were directly involved in what is called rhino horn trimming, and they trim the rhino horns to prevent people from poaching those horns from the sky using drones. They discovered a mother and baby. We came down in our trucks and secured the animals and gave them a chance at life. It was tremendously emotional to Suzanne. It was the first time in my life I can say I saved a life. I contributed to saving a life. Next year, we'll go off and work with cheetahs in Namibia because another animal that is under intense pressure. What is your passion? No matter what it is, people recovering from cancer treatment, children who need a hot breakfast, the homeless who maybe need someone to support them. Find your passion. Everyone needs your head, heart, and hands. And that is where you can make your passion come alive through volunteerism.
First of all, thank you so much for doing it. Obviously, those animals in Africa, they need any help that they can get because we don't want just another continent. We want to preserve the wildlife there and as much as we can in the natural habitat also.
Yeah, I would say to anyone that is looking at their calendar for the next year, it's also a way for you to explore more about yourself, more about your leadership of yourself, more about your ability to collaborate with others who come from around the world and be, led by a team leader. It's also a way to further develop leadership abilities that perhaps you didn't even know you had in an unusual situation. Instead of taking a week's leave and going to lie on a beach, think, wow, what could I do in that week that I would learn, others would benefit, and it would be the ultimate win-win.
When I was listening to you, I was just thinking leadership, and you're such a top leadership coach. What can we learn when you are a volunteer? So you're not the leader, you're part of the team. How is that dynamic for you then?
One of the leadership models that has always spoken to my heart is that of servant leadership, where as a leader, you are there to serve others, their success, their development, their growth, their potential. And I think volunteerism brings that into the mix. It's so not about you as a volunteer. It is about those, human or animal, that you are there to support, to provide them with an opportunity at their success, at a better life, etc. And so the connection for me is really tangible when you, as a leader of yourself, take a step back and say, I'm here in service of others.
Oh, this is beautiful. And we can all learn as a leader. Sometimes it's also good that we step back a little bit and observe what's happening with the team dynamics. And then we take on a leadership role again. And isn't that a better way to spend your vacation rather than laying on the beach, but doing something meaningful?
I couldn't agree more, because our first big experience in Rio de Janeiro, I was still in the work world, full time in the corporate world. Took these amazing 2.5 weeks and went to Brazil. And I came back very different. I came back with a challenge to myself of, wow, if thousands of people could come together and align and have this common mission, why can't myself and another department head agree on something? So that step back helped me to say, what did I learn about listening? What did I learn about hearing someone else's perspective? What did I learn about harmony that I can bring to the corporate setting? And so there was a net benefit, I think, for me and for my leadership.
I couldn't agree more. My early days, I went to India and Indonesia to give leadership trainings. And also I was like, wow, this was such an invaluable experience that nobody can take away.
You make friends, you connect with people that, when you see them. So World Athletics were just held in Tokyo, and my husband and I were saying, remember this athlete? Yes, we saw this athlete. You feel like your world and your community has expanded incrementally because you'll get to know, work with, and support people from all over the world.
I wish you wonderful travels to Namibia, running with the cheetahs. I don't know, how fast do they go?
Fastest animal on earth. I don't think I'll be running with them. But again, it could be anything, Suzanne. We've been told, bring gloves. You could be chopping meat for them. You could be trimming nails. You could be doing all kinds of things. That's again the beauty. I don't know what it will be, but I know in some small way I can serve.
What do you do when you don't work? But for you, this question does not apply. How do you pack and what do you bring with you on such a trip?
Yeah, I'm not a very light packer. So that's maybe something I need to look at and work. I'm ready for all types of weather. I want to be warm. I want to be dry. And so those are two things that are always in the back of my mind. Lightweight stuff that I can launder. But here's one other thing. We always want to give to the communities that we serve. So for instance, when I went to South Africa this time, my husband and I had knitted a lot of hats for children. So we're always asking, what else can we do? So in Namibia, we've been told, bring rubber boots, Wellington boots, because it's going to be rainy. Oh, and by the way, if you can leave those with us, it would be great for the community. So we pack for ourselves, but we also pack for a community.
Thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into your fantastic life, giving back, and keep it going. Take some pictures and share it with us. So thank you so much. This is cool.
Absolutely. Thank you, Suzanne.
What a fun conversation. What are you taking away? Giving back to others. Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, in Paris, and now South Africa and Namibia with the cheetahs. How cool is that? Hopefully we can get to hear her stories from that experience. Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday. Come and join us, learn with us, travel with us, volunteer with us, and also Take It from the Iron Woman is the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore or in your library. Like and subscribe to this podcast on the platform you're listening to this podcast today. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next time, and bye-bye.